Welcome back. Let's work on the profile update function, a very important endpoint that, well, we want to make sure we protect. We don't want anybody to be able to update a profile. And we finally get to work a bit of the back end. Now, what we want to do here, I'm going to minimize this. And within our routes, in our Express app, we'll create an app.post that is the profile with the parameter that is ID. And this is going to have a request response that will have, what should it have? Well, we want the profile to handle profile update. And we pass in the request response object as well as our DB object so that we can connect to the database and actually update the user database. So request, response, DB. Let's save. You see that we've noticed the change in our Docker container, which is very, very nice. Now let's actually build this handle profile update. We once again go to our controllers, to profile, and instead of handle profile get, we'll create a new function called handle profile update. And it's going to be a simple function. This simple function is going to accept a request, a response, and the DB that we just passed it on. And inside of here, we're going to grab the ID from request.params. Remember, that's the field over here that we provide. So it could be profile 23, profile 1. If it's profile 1, we'll grab the A user that we have. And in the security section, we discussed this idea of always never trusting inputs and what user sends you. And we can do some checking here to make sure that params exists, make sure that whatever we expect from the client side is correct. But for time's sake, we're going to focus on just profile update. Otherwise, we're just going to be spending way too long you watching me code. All right. We also want to grab the name, age, and pet object that we're going to send from the request.body.form input. Now, we haven't actually done this on the client side, but we want to send a form input object that contains name, age, and pet. And now with our DB object, we can use connects to simply say, I want DB users. And once again, if you're not familiar with connects, you can just go to their documentation and it's very, very simple. It reads like English and you'll see what I mean now. I'm going to say, grab the users table where the ID is our ID. I can just make that simplified and keep it like this. So where the ID matches with whatever we've provided. And in that case, we want to update. And for now, because we don't have the age column, the pet column in our database yet, that's going to be one of your exercises. We're just going to worry about updating the name. So I'm just going to say update name. Again, I can just simplify it and do name. Because that's the column name of the users table. Finally, we can do a .then. And once we get a response from that, we'll say that, whoops, that's not what we wanted to do. We'll say that we want to, well, if there is some sort of a response, and we can do a bit of checking here, but if there is a response from the database, which is what we want, we'll respond with JSON. Let's just say success. Because we've updated the user successfully. Otherwise, we will just respond with a status of 400, and we can just say JSON. For now, just leave it at not found. Or let's just say unable to update. And of course, with any promise, we want to do a .catch to catch any errors. And in our case, we'll just say that the error, we'll just do a response status of 400 and a response of error updating user. All right, let's save here. See if we get any errors. No errors yet. That's always a good sign. So let's give the handle profile update here. Make sure we export it. And now we should have this available in our server.js. Now, to test this, to do a post request, we can either start working on the front-end side and do a fetch request, or we can use something like Postman. And Postman is something that we've used before in my previous course. It's absolutely amazing. If you're ever working with APIs and building out your own RESTful API, you must use Postman. It's absolutely great, and you'll see why now. I'm going to do a post request to localhost, and it'll be 3000, and it's going to be to profile ID of 1, because we only have one user now. In the body, we want to say that it's going to be raw JSON that we send. It's going to have a form input. Make sure that this is JSON. We'll say form input. And this form input is going to have name of, let's say, Johnny. Age of 54, and finally pet, that is, let's just say cat. If I click send here, I get a success. I was able to enter the body, give it some input, and if we go back, we see that all right, there was a post request to profile 1. Now, here's the fun part. Let's go back to our app and just sign in again. We'll say a@a.com, password A, and look at that. Our user's name is now Johnny. We've successfully created the handle profile update function. That's pretty amazing. And in quite a few lines of code, that wasn't that bad, was it? We just simply created a post request, and that post request is simply waiting for a parameter of ID, name, age, and pet from the form input of the body, and then we just update the user's database as long as the ID matches with what you provided, and it updates, in our case, just the name. It's going to return a success or unable to update based on what we've done. All right, just so we don't get confused, let's go back to Postman and make sure we change Johnny's name to A, just in case. It's success again. If I refresh, we hit A, sign in. All right. We're back to normal. Everything's good. We have our user the way we need it. Awesome. So now that we have this handle profile update, we're actually going to connect it to the client side so that when we hit save on our profile page, it's going to work. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.